Welcome to the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast, episode number 169. Hi, I'm Chris. Thank you for joining us today.
And I'm Jill. Chris and I are your hosts for this podcast and the founders of the Becoming Elli community.
We decided to name our community Becoming Elli because Elli was the Norse goddess of aging who beat Thor in a wrestling match. Jill and I thought, hey, we want to be like Elli, fit and strong as we age.
You can find out more about the Becoming Elli community and this podcast at our website, becomingelli.com. Elli is spelled E-L-L-I. Sign up for our newsletter while you're there.
There's a lot of information at the website, so be sure to check it out.
So, Chris, we're nearing the end of 2024. I think this year sort of flew by in many ways.
Isn't that the truth?
Well, time is a weird thing because sometimes it feels like it's been 2024 for a really long time. But how did it go for you, health and fitness-wise?
Well, health and fitness-wise, I think was a really good year for me. I got a lot of things accomplished that I hadn't really planned on, which is weird because usually you have to set a goal to get something done, but it's just kind of how it evolved over time. You know, I had 3 words that I was going to focus on at the beginning of the year. And honestly, I had to go back several times to remember what the heck were those words. My words were connection, declutter, and yoga. And of course, connection was more about getting over the whole COVID thing because I'm still not getting out there and socializing as much as I used to. And declutter, I guess, because I just have a lot of junk around. You know, both my desk always looks a little bit cluttered and sometimes my mind is a little bit cluttered. And then yoga. I did do pretty well with yoga at the beginning of the year. But in all honesty, what really made the biggest difference for me this year that I think really was a big win was my daughter got me a Apple Watch for my birthday, which is at the end of March. So first quarter, I went to the gym a lot. I did a lot of yoga. I was doing a lot of classes. It was pretty much my average kind of year. But when I got the Apple Watch, you know, I used to be a huge fan of the Fitbit. And I really enjoyed, we were friends on Fitbit and, you know, we were constantly checking on each other or, you know, just kind of following up. You stay connected that way. And I guess that was part of my connection problem. But the problem with Fitbit, they'd gone through a lot of changes with Google buying them and then changing the interface and some of the things that I really liked on it.
Well, they got rid of the challenges.
They got rid of the challenges. And that, you know, honestly, that had big influence on me. And I didn't think it was as much.
It had a big one for me, too. I really noticed it. I actually sort of thought like that was almost the point of having the Fitbit.
Right. It was for me. And then I had some problems syncing it. And there were a series of things that happened. I just stopped wearing my Fitbit watch. And my husband picked it up and he uses it for his purposes, and that's fine. But when I got my Apple Watch, I was able to really see, oh man, I'm being too sedentary. Even when I'm doing the workouts, that was great, but I wasn't getting a lot of steps and I wasn't working out as consistently as there's something about having it right on your wrist, you know, that really makes a difference. So I would say that was probably the biggest win for me. Since I've had the Fitbit watch, I've averaged over 10,000 steps every day, which is great for me because it gives me a lot of time to do meditation. You know, I've been doing those walking meditations a bit, which is decluttering my mind. I guess that's good, right? And focusing on different things. So that's pretty cool. And that was a definite win for me. Also, was your suggestion to join Stride Kick, which is an app.
Yes, and that it doesn't work for me quite as well as the old Fitbit challenges, but it is a way to do challenges. And the nice thing is it's not restricted to any one fitness watch. So your Apple Watch works as well as my Fitbit. And if you were using Garmin, you could use that.
Yeah, because that was always the big problem with Fitbit too. You couldn't interact with the people who wore different watches, or I don't know. It's just a way to stay connected. You know, they always say you very much are like the five most people you interact with the most. I'm saying that really awkwardly, but you know, to stay healthy and fit, if your five closest friends are healthy and fit, you talk about healthy and fit things or you focus on that, you know.
Right. I've been thinking about that even in terms of running. I used to run, and I didn't run with people so much, but I hung out with people who were runners. Like you're not running. Other people that I used to talk to, I either don't see or they're not running or whatever. And so I've basically have quit running for really for other reasons too, but I miss it. And but I think it's partly because I don't have any sense of community about with it right now.
Right. It's definitely a mindset that you don't typically get. You know, there are a lot of friends that I have that they like to go out to dinner or go out to lunch, and it revolves more around food and not as much around, hey, let's go for a walk together. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, that's one thing I treasure about you. Whenever I text you and say, hey, let's go for a walk, you know, you're like, okay, which place? You know, it's great like that.
Yes.
And I guess when, you know, the weather's off or I'm busy or whatever, having the connection there with the Stride Kick. Not that Stride Kick is a great app. I have to say it went through a lot of challenges this year too. I guess that's just kind of the way of apps, you know. Things keep changing.
Yes. It is nice in that you have community, but it's also, I don't know, it's a little more challenging to me, I think.
For sure. Challenging in a bad way, not challenging like the Fitbit challenge or whatever.
I don't know what the internet is just become such a creepy place at times, but I
Right.
have to like delete all of these requests from creepy men who I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah. I just made a rule. If it's a guy, it's gone. And if it's a woman, I'm going to wait and look over several days and see if they actually do walk, you know, because you can see when the last time they sunk up the watch or whatever that they had, see how many friends they have. If they have a million friends, it's like they don't need me,
Well, right.
you
Right.
know. But I do find some connection with that I like.
Yes. I do still use Strava.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
And there are a number of people from the Becoming Elli community that are
Oh,
on
really?
Strava. And
Oh,
so
well, maybe I should start using that again. I really haven't done Strava.
I see their things that people
Uh-huh.
are doing, and I
Yep.
occasionally have things that I'm doing. But I have to say, some of our Becoming Elli members are doing like really impressive things on Strava.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, that is the whole thing of a community. Everybody's in a different place, you know, different ages, different injuries, different challenges.
Yes.
When we named our podcast Fit Strong Women Over 50, I mean, you think of the range of women over 50, that's the second half of life. I mean, there's a lot going on there. You know, some people are working full time, other people are, you know, in different portions of their life. They might be retired or they might be caring for elderly parents or grandchildren, or, you know, there's just
Right. Or still have children at home.
exactly, everybody's in a different stage. It's crazy when you see some of the challenges, even on Stride Rate. You know, there's people that are walking amazing or running. You know, they use that for running as well too. But it's funny that you mentioned Strava because I was thinking about that the other day. I always use Strava for biking, and I kept that kind of separate as my biking app. But maybe I should reconsider that.
So some people use it for biking, running, but
Mhm.
also walking and hiking.
Yeah,
So I don't mean walking like,
keeping it on all day, going around
well, yeah, or no, I mean like I went
vacuuming.
out for and I walked I walked to walk down the road to the mailbox and
Right.
and back. But you know, if you actually go for
Yeah, I don't want to see anybody's treadmill mill record there, right? But I've seen people on Strava that make a pattern, you know, with their walking in the neighborhood, and you know, I'm not that clever.
no, me either. But anyway, that's another one. I'm using the Stride Kick for challenges, but
Mhm.
I do enjoy seeing what people are doing on Strava.
So Strava and StrideKick, those are two apps that we're using. If any of the listeners have a great app for staying connected, whether it's workouts or something with the watch or whatever, that'd be cool. Please let us know.
There's a lot of we can complain about technology, but there's a lot of technology available to help with a lot of this fitness, your different goals. So we might as well, without overwhelming ourselves,
Right.
know if there's something better or easier
Yeah.
or, more effective.
What you do. Yeah. So did you have 3 words for 2024?
I did. My 3 words were movement, schedule, and community. So the community, I guess, sort of like what we just talked about, is needing people to do things with. And so it's not like I don't see people. I do have a community, but I am missing the fitness minded community. I talk to people at my gym,
Yes.
which is nice. I ran into a woman yesterday in the locker room who I hadn't seen in a long time, which I said, I haven't seen you in a long time. And she said that she comes almost every day to the gym, but she's coming at a different time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she said she's now, I think she said she was 74. And she said, she said, I really worry about things like balance. I don't want to
Yes.
fall. So I'm really working on. And she said, it's not like I think I'm going to get stronger than I was 10 years ago or whatever. She said, but I really don't want to lose what I have,
Oh, yeah.
which is not a bad way of thinking about it.
Well, for sure. I mean, that's balance as we go forward. That's crucial. I mean, especially, in the ice, it's so easy to just
Oh,
woo, woo, woo,
yeah.
balance is a good one. Right.
But movement, so I sort of was thinking that I go to the gym and I do that, but I wanted to sort of do a bit more movement during the day of just being active, like walking down the street to the mailbox and not just sitting on the couch, but getting up and moving around my place and that kind of thing. And I don't know how successful I was at that because I would go through phases of being aware and other times I'd sort of forget about it. And then schedule, I struggle with scheduling myself. So I have really tried to have set times to go like to the gym. And I try to sort of make a consistent schedule for myself because I'm easily pulled away into things that suddenly feel much more interesting to me.
Right. Right. I find that same thing. If I have a pattern, or at least by a certain time of the day, I'm going to have this accomplished.
Yes, right.
You know,
I think it also comes down to being sort of tolerant of yourself because I have people who consistently tell me, you should get up early and go to the gym right away and start your day with a workout. And I listen to that and then I feel guilty that I'm not doing that I'm not working out that way.
well, maybe you're not a morning person as much.
I remembered that when I used to work, I used to go to the gym like at 6 p.m. and do my workout. I loved going then.
Well, yeah, then it's your time.
And so I don't go that late now, but you know what? If
Yeah.
I choose to go to the gym at 1 p.m. instead of 8 a.m,
Yeah.
I had to sort of come to terms that didn't make me a bad person.
Right. Right.
We can all do things our own way, but people are really like, they get something in their head like, oh, this is when you should be doing your workout. And boy.
Well, that's a morning person talking because I'm a morning person. And I know if I don't do something by 10 o'clock in the morning, the rest of the day just kind of slips away. And I can barely force myself to do something. It's weird. I really enjoy doing the morning. Now, I used to do a 5:45 a.m. spinning class. And now there's no way I'm getting out of bed to do a serious workout at 5:45. But my mornings have become a little bit later than that. That's for darn sure. It's not fun for me to do it like that anymore. But I think you have to know your own self, and what works for you. So a 6 o'clock turning into a 1 p.m, that's fine.
Yeah.
Or whatever,
But it's easy to start taking what people tell you to heart sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's one thing I've learned over what is this episode 169? We've
Yeah.
talked with a ton of experts and regular folk that have done things that are amazing and regular folk that are just keeping the weight off and doing different things. Each person has something of value, but everything that works for everybody else doesn't always work for me. It's like each person's individual. You got to do it your own way.
Right. And that is one thing that has come up consistently in our episodes is find something you like. That makes it a lot easier to do things.
Yeah.
I think if you also extend that to find things you like and do things the way you like.
Right. Do it the way you like it. And also do it with people you like.
Yes. Okay.
then it becomes
There's a lot of liking here.
Oh, yeah. All right. I'm getting silly. Don't mean to do that. Sorry. We had some really great podcast episodes this past year. There were a couple that I wanted to remind our listeners about or remind myself. I kind of went back and did different call outs, and I think you did too. So maybe we could go through some of them and talk through. How's that sound, Jill?
Yeah, sure. That would be great.
Well, one that pops in my mind that I wasn't sure how that was going to go, but I have come back to it over and over again and watched her YouTube videos over and over again. And that is Alicia Jones' episode. Her episode was number 159. This was back in the summer, Healthy Living with Alicia Jones. She had a whole series of YouTube videos, and one that has really helped me a lot is the big toe exercise. Now, we talk about strength training and doing your weights and squats and all these other things. But I've been struggling a little bit with arthritis these days. And that, the whole thing about arthritis, you have to keep moving the joint, but hey, it kind of hurts and you don't want to strain it too much, obviously. I stopped wearing high heels when I was 38 years old, when I was getting a lot of pains in my legs. So I figured I've saved my toes, right? But I still have some problems with my big toes. And doing some of those exercises, and there's a simple one, I'll link to it in the show notes, where you have to hold your four toes just gently still, don't scrunch them up, and then gently lift your big toe higher and put it down, lift it and put it down. It sounds so simple, but that has helped me so much. And who knew, right? Who knew that the big toe would make such a difference?
She was also the person that talked a lot about what I think she called prehab.
Yes.
So like if you know you're going to have surgery, to do the physical therapy type work beforehand so that you go into it strong and ready to recover.
Yeah. And that just makes so much sense. So I'll link to that in the show notes. She also talked about with food, putting tofu in your smoothies. And I know that sounds kind of funny, but when you're running the blender anyway and you have stuff, you can add extra protein by putting tofu in there. You never taste it. It just blends right up. And I've been doing that too. And I really like that idea.
I think she was also the one who suggested putting tofu into your spaghetti sauce.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know about that. I don't know if that was her or not, but somebody suggested blending tofu in with your spaghetti sauce. So I did that. It does not affect the flavor. It affects the texture because it makes it a little creamier and a little lighter. It looks like you poured cream into your spaghetti sauce.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, it does sound good. But it's tofu. But so you don't really taste it. But it was an easy way to add some more protein into it and kind of stretch the spaghetti sauce. So I got an extra meal out of it that way.
Yeah. Well, we're all trying to get more protein, and maybe I'm overstating we all, but I know I am trying to get more protein in my diet and really try to hit some good numbers to keep my muscle mass, like growing or staying the same at least. Yeah, I'm going to try that spaghetti sauce idea. I forgot all about that. Yeah, thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it and certainly easy to do. Another one that I think about sometimes is we talked with Kim Vopni, the vagina coach, about pelvic floor health. She had a lot of suggestions and talked about hormones and and different ththings that you can do to help yourself. But she had a lot of exercises too that what I remember is that squats were an important one because it was like
Sure.
everyone wants us to do squats. There were actually very simple things you can do to improve your,
Pelvic floor.
yeah. And if you have problems with, she was most concerned with prolapse organs, but also incontinence.
Right. And it's a huge issue as women get older. I mean, huge issue. And it's something that really doesn't want to get talked about. I know I felt a little bit uncomfortable when we were first talking about it, just because it's kind of a awkward subject, but she approaches it so matter-of-factly, and she made so many good points, like this is the biggest area of muscles in the body. No exercise coach, no
Right.
personal trainer is bringing that up when you're working out, but this is like critical. It'll affect a huge portion of your life, maybe not right now, but later. And she's so right about that. That was a great one.
There's just like certain things that no one wants to talk about, and having incontinence problems is one. Even if it's just the like making a mad dash when you walk in the door to your bathroom.
Yeah, the urgency thing, right?
Yeah.
She has a huge following, and I mean huge following.
And she does post. So just like we were saying about Alicia Jones having the videos, Kim has a lot of content online.
Yeah, free content.
Which, I like these people who, everyone should make a living. They have certainly, I never begrudge someone charging for their services, but it's really nice when they also share free resources with us.
Yeah. And if I remember right, she has some sort of program where she doesn't charge a whole lot for like a lifetime membership to her thing. And she makes it up on volume because it's such an issue for so many women. I'm thinking of someone else that we interviewed, and her name was Bree Lambert. She was an ultra runner, and I'm thinking, when we were first talking to her, I'm like, what do I have in common with her? Nothing, because I'm not even running anymore. But, there was something that she said that still resonates with me, and that is when you're making a goal, to know your why. Are you just trying to finish? Are you really trying to compete? Why is it that you signed up for this goal? What difference is it going to make in your life? And really focus on that, because it helps you stay committed to the process, so that you really get out of it what you wanted, knowing your why. And I've heard that from other people before too.
She did some just amazing runs and races and things.
She's an amazing person. She really is. I'm wondering, I know some of the listeners may have skipped that one over just because they're thinking the same way I did, like, oh, I'm never going to be an ultra runner. Why in the heck would I listen to that? But she had some mental aspects of things that can help you at any stage of any goal, I think.
So that was episode 160.
Yes, episode 160.
Yeah, she was actually very interesting and very inspirational, even if you're not you don't have to be an elite athlete to benefit from some of her insights on fitness and strength and taking care of yourself. And mental attitude.
Yeah, mental attitude. So much of this is mental, I think, overall. The mental starts and then the rest of it follows, kind of.
Episode 156, which was...
Oh, yeah. Gwendolyn Bounds.
Yeah. I think that was called The Power of Pushing Limits. She was another one who just was doing amazing things, I thought.
Oh, yeah. She ran obstacle courses, if I remember right. She had a lot of challenging ways of working out.
Yeah, she wrote the book, Not Too Late, The Power of Pushing Limits at Any Age. She was the one, she did not have, she became a runner like in her 40s. I think it was what it was, but she really talked about, when she first started, she was like a back of the pack kind of person, but then became, she like podium finisher.
Well, she was the one that really studied things, if I remember right.
So we're back to the mental part of it was preparing for it. She did a lot. She talked a lot about if you went to do a race, of knowing what you were needed and what you wanted and what the course was like. And
yeah, that gave her a distinct edge.
Yeah. But yes, and her book was called Not Too Late, the powers of pushing limits at any age. So I thought that was an interesting episode. The other one, if I can just, Maria Malvin.
Oh yeah, she was wonderful.
She was, and I thought she was so willing to share her journey with us, and she was when you were talking about your word was yoga. She loved yoga and had become a yoga instructor, and then found out because of the joint issue that she has, the one thing she should not be doing is yoga, so she had to quit doing it, which is a good reminder again that what works for some people doesn't work for everyone. She really got into strength training then.
She was wonderful. In fact, we had a lot of conversations in our private Elli group on Facebook about how inspirational she was and thoughtful about different things. I really, that was episode 152, I believe. And I'll link to all these in the show notes too, so that if you want to listen, go back and listen to it again. It's easy to find. There was one early on in the year. Well, I guess it was after Maria's, but it was a guy. We don't usually have too many men on our show, but this was one that wrote a book called Defeat Your Cravings. His name was Glenn Livingston, I believe. And the one thing that I really liked about how he talked about stuff was, if you have your cravings, he talked about the monster, and that's the monster talking. And I still remember that. It's such a great visual image. But the thing that I think impressed me the most about him, he wrote a book all about it called Defeat Your Cravings, but it's a free book. You know, he came from a group of 17, his family, 17 different psychologists, if I remember right. And so it was in his family DNA, but he really struggled with his weight and would always refer people to somebody else if they were coming to him for weight issues. But he had a lot of great tips and things that really resonated with me about emotional eating that I thought was outstanding. And I really enjoyed having him on our podcast.
Good point. He was another one who had a lot of free resources. You can sign up and he sends things out. I don't mean like annoyingly often, but you hear from him. If you sign up for his stuff, you get tips all the time.
Emotional eating is something that I like to revisit from time to time, because it's kind of a fallback under stress, for me. So
I have struggled with eating this year more than I have in quite a while. I think a lot of it was just emotional, sort of stress related.
Right.
Or I just noticed I have struggled more with eating things I don't normally eat and eating when I'm not hungry and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, it's a fallback position. It's hard to defeat the monster, defeat your cravings.
Yes.
Oh, you know which other one I wanted to mention too? And I don't know if folks listen to Maddie Duckwald, episode 154, but I have to say the photo that we used of her is her actual photo. And she just looks so young and really has so many great anti-aging. Some people may recognize her husband's name, Ken Duckwald. And when I first saw that, that Maddie was going to be on our podcast, I thought, that she was the daughter of, and I hate to say it that way, but she looks so young. She really has some great suggestions. So I just had to do a shout out to that episode as well, because that was awesome.
And speaking of people providing resources, we talked with the couple about preventing dementia, Mitch and Emily Kleonsky.
Yeah. That, in fact, was one of our most listened to podcasts of the year.
That's one I should go back and listen to again because they had so much advice and content, but they also had that checklist of things you can do. And there was, 20 things on the checklist, and 15 of them were all things that you could control. So 5 things outside of your control, but 15 you could actually do something about, which really is better that way than the other.
Dementia, as we age, you can do all these things for your body, and the body and mind are so connected too. I guess that really came clear in that podcast. But if dementia is something that is on your mind, I guess that is the way to say it. But
I think dementia is something that most of us fear. We worry about.
Right. Well, if you've ever had yeah, a family member to take care of, you know how difficult that disease can be. And there are 15 different aspects that you can affect. And that checklist, I'll make sure that that's on our show notes too. That checklist are things that you can change in your adult life right now.
There were things on that list that I had never heard about or
Considered.
thought
Yeah,
about.
I
Yeah.
know. And it's a result of, I forget how many people they have treated in their practice, but years and years and years of treatment and study and research. They're the real deal. So
Yeah.
worth listening to. Another one that is a little more recent was episode 166, Henry Howard. There was something that he said in that podcast that has popped into my head so many times. And, I've heard before, don't let perfection be the enemy of progress. And it's sort of like that. But he said, don't let comparison be the thief of joy. When you compare yourself to somebody else or compare yourself to your younger you, don't let that become the thief of joy. I just wanted to mention that again because that really resonated with me.
I mean, I think that's good, really good advice because it's so easy to compare yourself to others and to yourself as a younger person. And that applies for a lot of things, not just running.
Oh, yeah. So many things. So many things. Not to be so hard on yourself. Don't, because there's so much joy in the world when you're doing different things that, it's just a way to, I don't know. It goes back to what Brie Lambert said about, know your why. And it might not be, like I remember when I was running and people would say, oh, so you ran that race. Did you win?
Yeah, I won because I
But that was never
finished.
one of my whys.
Right. I
Right. And
finished.
yeah, competing, training, staying focused on staying fit and healthy. That's really, staying focused is my goal more than anything.
And I will say, sort of an overall statement. You mentioned that how many people mentioned eating protein, but the other thing that was just repeated frequently was how important strength training is.
Oh, absolutely. When we were younger people, or maybe even now, I don't know, it doesn't seem like strength training gets the attention that it should for especially women over 50. It's just so critical. You mentioned balance a while back, and balance is extremely important. But if you don't have your strength, you don't have. There's so many pieces and parts of strength that just make so much sense. It helps your metabolism.
It does. And it helps your bone health and it helps a lot with everything, I think. We're back to the mind body connection.
Exactly. Something about feeling strong really makes a big difference.
We have a new year of podcast episodes coming up.
Yeah, we do. Oh, yeah. And, hey, if you're listening and you have any suggestions for someone that we really need to talk to this coming year in 2025, please let us know because it really helps with planning. We put that question out to the Becoming Elli group in our private Facebook group, and we got some great suggestions and we're acting on those. But we're always looking for podcast guests that will continue to motivate and inspire us and provide us with information and suggestions.
Even if you don't know the person, but there's a topic you think we should cover, let us know that too. I'd like to talk to someone about a healthy gut in a bit more detail and maybe someone to talk about sleeping.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Sleeping is I think we sort of feel like we know what you need to do to have good night's sleep, but I wouldn't mind getting some more advice on it.
Well, I feel like sleeping is so tied to brain health as well as recovery. It's a really critical aspect. And yeah, so we should look for.
Yeah, we'll look for a sleep expert. But if you have any other suggestions, please let us know. That would be great.
Yeah, and I'm still looking for some food suggestions, whether it's dietitian or healthy cooking recipes, eating. I'm constantly on a search for that. We have some emails that we've sent to various people. I'm hoping that they will get back with us. But if not, if you as listeners, if you know of someone who would make an excellent guest, please let us know.
Your favorite question to ask people is what is your like go-to meal when you come home at
Right.
the end of a busy day?
Oh, yeah.
And we've gotten some great responses to that.
Yep. Well, I have a new one that I want to share. I thought of it last night when I was making it once again. And it's ground turkey, but I start it by heating up a little bit of olive oil and browning some diced onions. Then I add the ground turkey. Then I open up a can of kidney beans or garbanzo beans, black beans, just depends what beans I'm feeling like. And I'll add a can of diced tomatoes with chilies. Sometimes it's Rotel, sometimes it's other brands, but that kind of thing. It's pretty healthy, but boy, that hits the spot for me. I don't know why. I just love that.
So it's just ground turkey, beans, and the diced tomatoes with a chili pepper in it.
Yeah, but I start with the onions.
Oh, an onion.
Onions with a little bit of olive oil. You got to cook it low because olive oil has a low smoke rate, or that's not the right phrase, but that's something that I didn't used to make. And somebody talked about that recipe. It's one way or another. It may have been one of my friends. I don't know, but that has become my new go-to because, you can have that ready in a very short time and it's very satisfying.
And do you put that on something or?
Sometimes I'll add, you mentioned this one and that's the chickpea pasta.
Oh
What's the
yeah,
name of it?
yeah, yeah.
Bonza. Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like sometimes I'll make some of that kind of pasta. Other times I'll put it over quinoa, or other times just eat it plain like that.
Sounds great.
But I'm always looking for a go-to meal because I find that that's my issue. That's my struggle. I can eat really great, for breakfast and lunch, but then when it's dinner time, all of a sudden I'm at a loss if I haven't planned it out, kind of thing.
What do you have planned for
20
2025, Chris?
2025. Well, this is a big one for me. And I only say that because I graduated from high school in 1975. So I feel like 2025, that's 50 years out of high school, right? Did I do the math right? So for some reason, that it's just, I've mentioned this to you before too, Jill, because here we are talking about fit, strong women over 50. And now I'm talking about 50 years out of high school. So I am still planning my 2025, but number one is going to be strength training and consistency with strength training. I do a lot of strength training, don't get me wrong, but to really be more consistent with it, I think that would be really important to me. So that if I have one thing that's planned, I would say consistency and strength training.
The consistency to me is so important. I do the strength training, but I could do more. I would like to add one more day of strength training into my schedule, I think.
Oh, wow. So you're looking at 3 days a week?
Yeah.
Good for you. I always admire your strength training. I really do.
I don't mean I want to overtrain, but I feel like I could use that extra day. It would sort of I would think it would help my progress.
Strength training is probably the consistency in strength training. I don't mean to say strength training because I do it, but it's not as consistent and, I don't track it as much, all of that. So that's probably the number one thing. And what about you, Jill? Maybe that's what I stole it from you, right?
I have a mat Pilates class available at my gym.
Nice.
In the morning at 9:00. So it would violate my now, let's do things in the middle of the afternoon, but I could get there by 9. Somebody that we talked to said how important Pilates is.
Well, it's almost like another form of strength training, isn't it?
It is. I know when I went the first time, it's like, oh, I'm doing things here that I don't normally do.
Oh, yeah. Pilates can be tough.
Yeah.
I first started doing Pilates as part of a yoga class that they called it a fusion class. And I was like, whoa, I thought I was fit.
Yeah. They used to have, what's that? They used to call that yoga lattes and things.
Yeah, they used to combine it somehow.
If I can get one or two of those, I think that sort of counts towards the strength training.
Yeah.
So I guess, and I would also like to get a bit more a cardio day in there of actually focused on not just going out and walking, but of actual
getting different zones.
Or doing like
Start breathing a little harder.
a interval training kind of thing.
Got it. Well, that's a good one. That's funny you said that because I was thinking about that trail that we've done several times nearby here, and I walked it recently with a friend. It's the Boston Run Trail. You know which one I'm talking about? It's right here in Cuyahoga National Park, but it has a very steep hill at the end. A very steep hill at the end. And we walked that a couple times. I don't think with the dogs, but that is a good cardio one for me because it gets my heart rate up there for sure. But I was like, I need to do this trail more often. So there was something that you and I have developed for the Becoming Elli listeners and our community, and that's called January Bingo.
Bingo. Yeah.
And perhaps people are already very familiar with the bingo concept. For those who aren't, the idea is there's 25 squares with the center square being free. And in those squares, there's activities or suggestions of things to do. And the idea is you get 5 in a row, right?
Yeah. Up, down, across, diagonal.
Yeah. Or if you want to be an overachiever,
do the whole
25
card.
days of January. Right. I'm thinking if I get straight in a row, whether it's across, up, down, or corners, that I'll be doing great. But
remind me what's on our bingo card? Like what kind of things?
It's different things like, do a Pilates workout or eat a healthy lunch, prep your food. And I forget, we have 25 different things on there.
So it's a variety of things.
And you'll have to download it I'll have the download available. And just like we did different challenges, whether it was the veggie challenge or the rainbow challenge, we'll have a special page on the Becoming Elli website so that you can download it if you lose your bingo sheet or you wanted to just keep it as a digital file, whichever. It'll be a PDF.
I like this one. I think I'm going to like this better than I liked the rainbow challenge.
The rainbow challenge sounded really fun, but it was really hard for me to stick to. And, purple food became non-existent for me. I don't know.
It was your nemesis.
I don't know. The rainbow idea was it was clever, but it was more clever than it was realistic. I mean, I did a lot better in prior years when we did a veggie challenge of trying new foods and things like that.
Yes, I agree. Where we were basically either trying a new vegetable or a new way of preparing a vegetable.
Yeah. And we had something where we were trying to eat 30 foods within a week or something like that, different types of food. Like those kind of challenges I did much better on. So I'm eager to see how I do on the bingo challenge for January.
Yeah. People can do their bingo card and then post it online. Show us how they did.
That'd be cool. If you have very good digital skills and you can hack into my PDF and exit off, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Well, all right. Well, you can exit off and then take a picture of it.
Oh, that's the way to do it. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Upload it and, send it to us. Give us some ideas for some more bingo challenges. And if it's real successful, who knows? Maybe that'll become our new thing for challenges.
At least, let's try January and maybe February we'll modify it slightly and try it again.
Give us some feedback on that. But we don't want to do challenges if people aren't interested in them.
So you're going to put it on the website, and I'm just going to remind everyone that the website is becomingelli.com.
And that's spelled ELLI.
Thank you.
And if you want to follow us in other places, we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, YouTube, of course, Facebook. And I've mentioned several times our private Facebook group, and you're really missing out if you're not part of that group, right?
Yeah, I'd say. Hey, I meant to say when we were talking about the podcast episodes that if you go back to our 2023 episodes, we had episode 144, which was reinventing ourselves with Wendy Battles. And I thought that was it's a great talk for a new year because it's about setting goals and figuring out what you want to do. Wendy also has her own podcast, and that is certainly worth checking out. She's a curious soul. She loves to talk to people and understand their experiences. She believes that reinvention is a natural part of life and something that many of us have done numerous times.
Listen to the Reinvention Rebels podcast with stories of unapologetic women, 50 to 90 years young, who have boldly reimagined their life on their own terms to find renewed purpose and possibilities. You can listen to her latest episode at reinventionrebels.com.
It was great talking with you today, Chris. I'm looking forward to our next episode of the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast.
I am too. See you next time, Jill. Bye-bye.
Bye.